Howdy folks, and welcome back to another episode of War of the Tanks with General Ducky. Today I have for you the Tier 8 American Light Tank, the T49. Today I'm going to be running through some statistics on it, recommending crew perks and equipment for it. So let's get started with the gun. The T49 has a 152mm howitzer. It's actually a rocket launcher mounted on a light tank. So let's start with the stock gun, because honestly there's not much to compare with the Top Gun. The stock gun is a 90mm. No, that is not AP. That is actually HE that has 102 pen. The tank fires two different types of HE, and heat as a premium shell. Heat has 250 pen, 240 average damage. The tank has about 6 second reload. 8.1 HE has 45 pen and 320 damage. The other has 102 pen. It's because this is actually a form of HESH. It's called HEP. And two other tanks that I know of actually get this. I'll be comparing them in just a moment. 0.38 dispersion at 100 meters, 2.3 second aim time. Another gun to compare that with is the RU-251. If you notice, 102 pen, 320 average damage. That's because this tank's HE is actually HEP. HEP. Similar heat shells, and difference is, instead of the crappier HE, this tank gets AP. So 190 pen, 240 average damage. The RU has a bit of a faster rate of fire. It's a bit more accurate and aims a bit faster, but the gun is about 50% heavier. Then again, it is a German gun. They're known for accuracy and, well, I wouldn't really say aim time, but they're known for being rather accurate. The other one is the M41 Black Bulldog. Very similar gun to the RU-251, only this one has the same dispersion as the T49, faster aiming time, and a slower reload. But compared to the RU-251, my bad, it has 8 less pen. Other than that, it's pretty much copy and paste. The stock gun on the T49 is a pain in the butt to play with, but once you get past it, you start to realize that gun is actually very troll and very annoying because of its fast rate of fire, making it a very good scout tank killer. So let's move on to the 152. 76 pen with HE, 910 average damage, 152 pen with heat, 700 average damage, 85 pen with HE, and 910 damage. 0.6 dispersion at 100 meters, 3.6 second aim time, about a 21, 22, somewhere between an 18 and a 22 second reload depending on how you set up your tank. Now, interesting thing about this tank, heat is not the premium shell. We go into the service, you'll see heat is actually just 20 silver more than your HE. This is actually your premium shell because this one increases your pen and gives you more splash. One tactic I've seen is you load one of these at the beginning of the match, and when you come across a scout, you shoot it, and it does a lot more damage. So what should we compare it to? Well, honestly, when this tank first came out, there was only one gun I could think of to compare it to. Yes, the KV-2. And you may be laughing when you start, but you'll see. With the KV-2, you have AP, premium AP, and HE. So let's start off with comparing HE. HE on this tank has 10 more pen than the standard HE on the T49, but it has 1mm more pen than its premium HE. 4 second aim time, a little bit faster than the slower than the T49, and they have the same dispersion. The T49 also has a slightly faster reload. And that gives this tank a bit of interesting capabilities. Moving on to the equipment, or not the equipment, the crew skills. Obviously you want 6th sense, and then because the commander is also the radio operator, I'll also talk more about what your third perk would be. Obviously you want concealment. Even though you do have a massive 152 howitzer, you can still scout in this tank, and you want to be able to scout. So after concealment, it's either Brothers in Arms, which is what I'll be doing, or you want recon and then situational awareness. Moving on to the gunner, that's it. You want snapshot, concealment, and then Brothers in Arms. You could even go for armor. Deadeye is useless, really, on this tank, because all it does is increase the chance to cause damage to enemy vehicles and crew. It is only effective on AP, APCR, and heat. So, unless you're going to be firing heat a lot in this tank, it's pretty much useless. For the driver, you want smooth ride, concealment, and then Brothers in Arms. You could also go with either clutch braking or off-road driving because you're a light tank. And then the loader, I'd recommend either intuition or safe stowage. I chose the wrong one. Then concealment and Brothers in Arms. So let's move on to the equipment. You want a vertical stabilizer, vents, and I'm personally going with binocs because I like to scout. Now this is all depending on how you want to play the tank. If you want to play it as a damage maker, then instead of having binocs, you put on a shell rammer. What that'll do is it'll take away your view range, and then instead of something like concealment, I'd put on recon and situational awareness to increase your view range. Now, if you want a happy medium, yeah, I suppose you could go with coated optics, and what that'll do is then you need to get one of the situational awareness or one of them to increase your view range a little bit. Honestly, with that big of a derp gun, there's really no point in having a camo net. My tank has a 21.6 second reload. If you have Brothers in Arms, vents, and shell rammer, I think the best you're going to get it down to is an 18-second reload. Not much of a difference at this point, honestly. I don't think it's really worth it. Vents is pretty much just enough. I mean, a 21.5-second reload, that's pretty good. The turret turns at just under 47 degrees per second. The gun has 10 degrees of gun depression, 20 elevation. My tank has 0.56 dispersion at 100 meters. 1100 hit points, nice and hefty on a light tank. 25, 25, 19 on the hull armor. 30, 15, 15 on the turret. Which means you're very prone to being killed by other scouts that are shooting HE. It's a 23-ton tank, 550 horsepower engine, giving it just over 24 horsepower per ton. The tank has a top speed of 74 kilometers an hour, and it does 24 in reverse. Which means this tank in reverse is faster than a mouse going forwards. What that also means is when you're running the big 152, you're doing 72, you can imagine how poor of a circle you're going to have. The hull turns at 47 degrees per second, and with under 50% crew on camo, I have 22% camo rating. And with 100% crew, 105, my bad, because of the binoc or the coated ventilations, adding 5% is actually giving the tank an extra 9 meters of view range on its own. Combine that with binocs and you're reaching your maximum. I think that's enough tank talk. Let's see some gameplay. So here we have Kenzum playing in his T49. You can see his loadout. He has 18 HE, 2 heat, and 2 premium HEs. We spawned on Sand River, South Spawn. We're defending. Tier 9 match, pretty good matchmaking considering I'm in an artillery and we're platooned with another light tank. Kenzum has a 21.09 second reload. He also has over 2,000 battles in this tank. You can see the size of the circle here as he's aiming in. I believe he went for coated optics instead of binocs. Other than that, we have the same equipment set up, and I have no idea what his crew looks like. I'm assuming it's something spectacular with 2,000 battles. Actually, judging by his view range, I'd say he doesn't have coated optics, so I have no idea what he's running as a third perk or a third equipment, but I know he's running vents and vertical stabilizer. Because with vertical stabilizer, one thing you can do to increase your aiming time, or reduce it I should say, is if you wiggle the tank, just pull forward, back up, pull forward. What that does is it forces your circle to start zooming in. And even though this is a big, I keep on saying BL-10, but it's not a BL-10. Even though this is a big freaking gun on a light tank, it still aims in pretty quickly, and you'll have a very tiny circle. There you can see, even with an auto aim, he's still able to hit them. And he got a bit of assisted damage there. Now he's retreating while he reloads. That's something you have to always be aware of, because basically you're a massive artillery in scout form. And with a 22 second reload, you have to be very wary of what your reload is and if you have an escape plan. He notices the Type 4 isn't looking at him. So here you can see he starts driving slower to start aiming in his shell, and he hits him. Now you'll notice that Kenzum does have 2 marks of excellence on his tank, so he knows what he's doing. And I know for a fact he doesn't have a shell rammer on it. And one thing you can do with this tank, actually I'll finish talking about the shell rammer. He doesn't run a shell rammer because he says it's 1 second, 2 second, what's the difference at this long of a reload? So you could see there he snipes a lot in this tank, and he actually hit his shell. I believe he's, yep, right there. Shot the M103 in the turret and still took out his track. So you can see that the tank is capable of sniping, but it's still a BL-10. There you go again, BL-10. It's still a 152mm howitzer, basically. So you're gonna have a couple shells that aren't gonna hit every time. Basically, you can't rely on being sniping, but that's something you can do in this tank. And you can see average damage of 910, and he's still doing around 300, even shooting tracks and spaced armor. It's just about done reloading and pulls up on the IS-3 again. That one didn't kill him, but the Pershing finished him off. Basically with the T49, you're not really a scout, and you're not really a sniper. You're basically just a support tank and a pain in the ass. Speaking of pain in the ass, just like that. You're here to keep people in line. If you're something like even an FCM-50T and you see a T49, the last thing... Wow, got some serious air there. The last thing you want to do is take on one of these things, because they don't want that to happen to them. Now, yes, as soon as you fire, you're going to get bum rushed a lot because people know that you have a long reload, but what they don't want to do is get shot by your gun before you shoot, or before you start your reload. So that puts a bit of fear into each and every tank in this game. And that gives you a bit of an upper hand over other scouts, because I've personally seen this tank one-shot every Tier 8 light tank, except for, I believe, the T54 lightweight. I don't think I've seen that one get one-shot yet, but I'd believe it. And here's that mobility, the top speed. Most of the time, the tank's more of like a T37. It's kind of sluggish, kind of big. Doesn't have that great a camo rating. And you can see how the vertical stabilizer comes in great use with this tank. I mean, it's just such a spectacular thing to have on it. He's fired 9 shells and Kenzum has actually hit each and every one, even though this tank has stock 0.6 dispersion at 100 meters. He hasn't missed a single shell with it. At this point, at least. Most of the time you're going to be doing around 60s, well, more like 65, and just under 70. But at times you can get this tank upwards of, I don't know, like 75. If you're going downhill slightly. Even against a Super Pershing, he was still able to do 180 damage, auto-aimed at about, I'd say 200, 300 meters. And he hit him. That's what this gun is capable of. And with the 10 degrees of gun depression, that makes you able to do stuff like, well, there he misses his first shell because, honestly, he fired just a hair too late. And so his gun was pointed down a little bit too far. STI, very heavily armored tank, and he's still able to take him out. It's now Kenzum versus a Black Bulldog and a Tiger 1. But there's a minute left on the cap. Which means if they cap, we lose. But if they come like that, if they come and try and kill him, which they're going to, they lose. Because all Ken has to do is run away. There's the Tiger. Loses his engine. No, 20 seconds, and then they win. Ken's picked up 4 kills, even though he's not top tier. But this is still pretty good matchmaking for a T49. I think he missed 2 shells that match, fired 13, and that's game. Let's see what he did. And Ken earned himself an ace tanker, a spotter, bruiser, fighter, and a fire for effect that match. He wasn't the top for damage or kills, but he was, however, by far the top for experience. And you can see he was pretty far up there for damage that match. Fired 13 shells, hit 11, penned 11, splashed 1. He did 2,283 damage. took 4 hits. They all penned. He spotted 1 enemy tank, damaged 6, killed 4, and you can see he did nearly 3,000 assisted damage that match. He also pocketed 10,000 silver after the battle. Let's have a look at another match. So this time Ken spawned on Overlord South spawn, and this match shows off a bit more what the gun can do. In the link, or in the description, I'll provide a link to a video that my Ace Tanker match in my T49 that shows off a bit more what the tank can do when you're scouting. But this match shows a bit of what you can do when you're scouting, but nothing really special. And for time purposes, I didn't put in the other video, because honestly, the majority of this tank's purpose is playing like this. You sit in a bush, try and find them if you can, and then when they're spotted, you put your gun to work. We'll put it that way. So here he's just sitting in a bush that is normally pretty good for scouting, and there's a T49, but he doesn't get spotted. And the T69 runs away before Ken can kill him, or shoot him. So now he's relocating for a better position. Oh look, it's a little scorpion. 1 millimeter of armor. So Ken takes up a bit of a better bush trying to get something for eyes. Ah, there's a scorpion again, just taunting him. Come here. You know you want to. I have no armor. You know you want to take it. You know you want to take a bite out of me. Don't do it, Ken. See, that's what I was talking about with the RNG. That shell was almost completely aimed in and it still went out of the circle and hit the dirt. But you'll get that in any tank. It just happens a bit more often in this one because, well, you have a 152mm derp cannon. So now Ken's, advancing up to the other ridge. You know what he's gonna do. You can't not do it. Hello! You get that quite often with the T49. He just popped over the ridge, shot him broadside, and gone out of the match. Runs around dodging shells. Well, he didn't dodge shells that time, but by the time he's reloaded, there's another one in the back of a Roomby this time. Yeah, that shell did do a bit of a low roll, and a good part of the time you're going to be derping the living crap out of Roombies. I mean, honestly, the Tog's worst nightmare is the KV2. The Roomby's worst nightmare? Well, pretty much all of its matchmaking, it's going to be getting either a KV2 or a T49. He's aiming in now in the 1390 for another derp. T30, 1390 is looking a little too quick. Aiming in for a shell. Auto aim smacks him in the engine deck and lights him on fire. 817 damage. And what kind of person wouldn't carry a fire extinguisher in a front-mounted engine tank? That's just disgraceful to a 1390. Auto aim in on the IS-3. Takes the shot as the IS-3 is moving, and he hits it. Like I said earlier, the tank gets some interesting rolls. Egg Panther 2 is chasing after him. But what he doesn't know is Ken is now loaded. fast maneuverability, gets on his side. 818. That's what you can do in this tank because of that 76 millimeters of penetration with HE. You can do stuff like that. Even if you catch a broadside prototype, this tank has enough penetration to go through the side armor of a T28 prototype, a regular T28, and I believe even the rear armor of a T95. But what's really fun is when you come across something like a T110 E5, and you park yourself flat on his rear end, he's distracted by the heavy tanks in front of him, and then you put a full damage, 1100 damage shell into his rear end. Kind of like that. That's about what it looks like. And you can see what kind of damage the T49 can do. I mean, all you have to do is just try and not shoot stuff at an angle. And unfortunately the IS-3 and the KV-5 kind of worked a bit together. I don't know if that was on purpose, it probably wasn't, but they took out Ken, and he probably could have done I bet this match he probably would have done well over 5,000 damage if they didn't kill him. Speed it up a little bit for time's sake. But you can see how you basically you shoot, then you relocate. Shoot, relocate. You spot, shoot, relocate. Rinse and repeat. Eventually it'll just become simple habit. You just spot, shoot, well, I forgot the I already forgot the habit. Oh well. But this match is looking like it should go well in our favor. Hopefully. Still have the video running in two times speed. I'll speed it up to 4 just in case. Ken switches over to the Waffle just as he kills the T69. And that is the luckiest M4043 I've ever seen. He pulls up on the ridge, doesn't really aim much, and he gets a snapshot on the Waffle, and as the Waffle is raging, he says he clicked just as he got shot. And I have that happen to me a lot in pretty much any of my tanks. But the T49 has an interesting role. There's that match. Before he died, Kenza managed to pick up himself an ace tanker, a spotter, bruiser, arsonist, fire for effect, and a high caliber. He was top for damage and experience on either team. Tier 9 match, and he did 1,400 damage more than anyone else in the match. Fired 9 shells, hit 8, penned 8, 4,556 damage. Took 4 hits, all of them penetrated. Spotted 5 enemy tanks, damaged 7, killed 3, and 1,400 assisted damage. So even though he's playing as an active scout, and it might seem pretty reckless the way he plays, but he gets matches like these all the time. After taxes, he pocketed about 26,000 silver. So you can make money in this tank, but it's nothing like a moneymaker. Let's go back to the garage. So basically the T49 is a tank where it's actually kind of similar to the way the Patton KR plays. You gotta wait for the, you're not a scout, you're not a medium tank, you're kind of that in-between where you can play around. The tank does have is more than capable of scouting for itself, scouting for its team, but with that 152mm cannon, when you're sitting there in a bush scouting, you take that big gun out of the game, and that's a bit unfortunate. And so you start enjoying the fact that you can do 300 damage to pretty much any tank in the game. So, and then that kind of brings you into the play style of kind of hit and run, kind of like Grand Theft Auto. You run up to a tank, you smack it with your big 152 derp gun, and then you run away. You're also kind of playstyle like an autoloader. But the tank requires a bit of skill, and you gotta time your moves, and you always have to plan out an escape route. So I wouldn't recommend the tank to people that don't know scouts too well. I mean, if you want a better scout for tier 8 that you want to run through, I'd recommend like the T54 lightweight, because its armor gives you, it's a bit more forgiving with its armor, so it allows you to make a couple more mistakes. And something like a 1390 where, yeah, it doesn't have the armor of a lightweight, but you have an autoloader, so even if you miss a shell, you have 5 more. But overall, T49 is a great tank. I think if you like scouts, you will love this tank. And if you like scouts in a KV2, well, here's a hybrid of both. Thank you all for watching. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And if you all could do me a huge favor and share this video or my channel with your friends, I'd really appreciate it. My goal is to reach 100 subscribers, and I can't do it without help from you guys. As always, happy battles, and I'll catch you on the next one.